welcome to episode 31 of the Second Look Sports Show. I'm your host today, Justin Ehrenberg. Unfortunately, our normal host, Alex Mandarino, can't be with us, but still, Brandon Brown is still in the analyst chair today. Happy to be back on another episode with you, Brandon. A wonderful, wonderful week of weather here in Toronto. Let's
Yeah.
start with that. It's been 30 degrees plus. It does not feel like September, October weather right now. It should be like 10 at the most right now. 14 maybe with a nice day. It feels like 14, but no. It's 25 degrees. People are still golfing. People are still enjoying all the sun. Tell me, man, are you enjoying it, or are you like, we got to get this rolling into winter now?
No, I mean, I'm definitely enjoying the weather as well. I mean, to your point, I think the only thing that does give that little bit of that fall feel is that now in the mornings and later in the evenings, it starts to come down. The temperature gets a little bit cooler, like to the temperatures you're talking about. I think this morning it was like 8 degrees Celsius, and yeah, you start to feel that crispness in the air, and it's like, okay, here we go. You can tell
Yeah.
that fall is coming, but I mean, I'm not sure I'm ready for the weather that comes with winter, but I'm certainly ready for the sports and the entertainment that comes with the fall season. And I know we're gonna get into what's going on here in Toronto and the excitement that comes with October if you're lucky enough to see it. So I
Yeah.
mean, I can't complain when the weather's so nice. Like it's unbelievable. It still feels like in the heat of the day you're getting a good summer feel. So it's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Other than the fact we got pounded in softball in the championship game, it was like 30-11 or something like
Oh,
that.
no way.
Oh man, it was really, really bad. We embarrassed ourselves in that. Anyway, moving on from that, we're gonna blame Alex for that. He'll
Yeah.
come back next week and we'll just like blow it off that he blew it. He was the reason. But no, let's jump right into it. This is an ALDS preview. We're not going to talk about anything else on this podcast because right now this is the big story in the city of Toronto. We could talk about preseason hockey, we could talk about the NFL, but it is baseball season. It is playoff baseball, the most exciting time of the year for the baseball calendar. And man, oh man, did we ever get the series I was hoping for with the Yankees versus the Blue Jays? I don't know. Were you like, obviously the Yankees beat the Red Sox last night in a best of three, winner take all. Um, Listen, were you expecting the Yankees to pull out the game three victory, or were you like hoping that they would?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I was hoping that either team would win. I think you just wanted to see a good 3 game series, which we got. Both teams had to kind of at least for sure Boston had to get into their bullpen in game 3, and the
Yeah.
Yankees just got an unbelievable start from Cam Slitler, who I guess is going to be could be a factor against the Blue Jays as well. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But I mean, I certainly thought that the Yankees were the better team of the two.
Mm-hmm.
They won just as many games as the Blue Jays this season. So to me, they were the more likely opponent going into the ALDS, like you said. But
Yeah.
it was just I think it was a great series. I think well, maybe not the Dodgers and Reds on the NL side, but I think you can make an argument that almost all of the wild card
I
series were
thought they were
fantastic.
great.
We saw
They
the
were all
three
great.
game threes obviously on Thursday, and yeah, I think with the Yankees, the better team just came out, and I think we'll see the best 2 teams. It's definitely in the division, but maybe in the American League, we'll see the 2 teams go at it in the ALDS. But yeah,
I don't know about
it's
that. I don't know about that. I
well,
I feel like Seattle might be the best team in the AL, but we'll save that for a later date. Let's just talk about the matchup that is the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, this is, I know it's not the Boston Red Sox versus the New York Yankees in terms of a rivalry, but like, this is like a new creation that feels like one of the hottest things up there with the Dodgers and Padres. The Yankees and Blue Jays, at least from a Canadian perspective, it's real. It feels real. It feels like every single time the Blue Jays go to play New York, they don't take the Blue Jays as serious as what they should have, I would just say, in my opinion, and it kind of cost them. And now we're at a point in the season where the last time they played each other, it was a pretty heated battle. I mean, we had the stealing pitches, we have the tipping pitches of Max Scherzer, like everything that goes into this thing. There is a lot. Like it's not just a normal playoff matchup. This feels like a natural, like I would say, new age rivalry that we have in the MLB. So having said that, what do you expect in terms of, I guess, the bad blood in this series to be like?
I mean, it's possible there could be some fireworks, in this series. I mean, you're certainly, I mean, whether or not you're a fan of one of these teams, I think you expect maybe some home runs for sure, and you expect there to be some scoring at some point. We know both these teams have pretty good pitching. Maybe that favors the Blue Jays, but yeah, like I think we expect to see some movement. The Jays have played all year pretty feisty. They run the bases, they try to steal, and the Yankees are going to have to try to do similar things if they want to try to create runs. If they're not, easily hitting them over the fence or anything like that. So I
Yeah.
think it's possible that things could get interesting. I mean, when you get into the deeper runs of the playoffs, intensity continues to climb, and your point about not taking them seriously is a valid one. I think they definitely will take them as seriously as possible now. I think
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we saw the Jays take the season series, and I think part of that was a 4-game sweep of the Yankees there this year. So you're definitely going to see the Yankees come out and being the team with a little bit of momentum. You're probably going to see the Jays get their best shot.
Mhm.
And I think, like I said, though, the pitching on the Jay side might give them their best shot to take command of this series, especially early with the Yankees, having used a lot of their best guys already, and maybe having to wait a game or two before they get back to the guys that they trust a lot. So it's going to be a super exciting series. I'm excited to kind of break down exactly what we think is going to happen, and I'm excited to see what happens on Saturday, and it's going to be amazing. Game one should be incredible.
Yeah. I'm just confirming right now because Aaron Boone, as we are recording this at 6 o'clock on Friday evening, Uh, Aaron Boone is doing his press conference for the ALDS pre-series, and Luis Gil is going to get the start in Game One, going up against Kevin Gosman, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on next is Kevin Gosman versus Luis Gil. This feels like a game where you obviously don't have Fried. You're going up against Rodon, like in the and Sittler, like it just feels like this is a game where it feels like I hate to say it, but it feels like a must win because of the pitching matchup with Kevin Gosman, your ace, and you're going up against arguably the Yankees' fourth guy in the rotation. Yeah, it feels like to me at least this is a game the Blue Jays have to win if they're going to have a chance in the series. How about yourself?
Yeah, they absolutely have to take advantage when they have the opportunity, and I think, like you said, game one is certainly going to be an opportunity for them if that's the pitching matchup. I think it's Luis Heel. I think it's Heel,
Oh,
but
sorry.
no, but
Did I say Gil?
yeah, but it
Oh,
doesn't.
sorry. No, no,
I
no.
think
It
it's
is
like
Luis Heel. It
yeah.
is Luis
So
Heel.
he's and I like you're 100% right.
That's
Like
my bad.
he's I think had a better second half, but than he did to start the season. But I think you're still right. He's probably in the 4 or 5 range in terms of where their starting depth is. So I think when you're the Jays and you've had all this rest and now you've got your number one
Mhm.
going on the mound and Kevin Gosman, it's really important that he has a good start, and allows the Jays to get off to a good start in this series in general, and give them some
Yeah.
momentum and allow them to kind of get their bats going, and even if it takes them a couple innings or if it takes them you know to the second half of the game, then it's like, okay, we know that Kevin Gosman is providing us an opportunity to get going. And if they're able to get the lead and get into something before Gosman either has to come out of the game or gives up a couple of runs, it'll put them in the best chance to really take hold to stranglehold of the series. Because yeah, going into game two, even into game three, like the Jays feel like they can match. I think almost all, like depending on, I mean, Fried, I would say is up there with the best of what the Jays have. But then beyond that, I feel like the Jays will feel good about any matchup they can put out there. So if they're able to get a one game lead and then you like your matchups going forward, it puts them in a really good spot, especially with home field advantage, which I'm sure we'll get into as well. So that's
Yeah.
one. It's just another thing I think when you talk about the Jays pitching depth, and especially being able to acquire somebody like Shane Bieber and then be able to promote somebody like Trey Savage, who may get a start as well in this series. Um, yeah, their pitching depth looks really good compared to, I think, what the Yankees are seeing, and we can get into the bullpen at some point too. But it just, yeah, that feels like the one thing where it's like, if the Jays just do what they've done all year and these guys come out and perform the way that we know that they can,
Yeah.
there's no reason why they shouldn't be at least in position to win this series and almost win it kind of convincingly if you start to look at the way the Jays have played against the Yankees this season.
Yeah. So obviously Fried is going to take the hill in game 2 for the Yankees. So my question is more so about game 2 for the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays today, they did the press conference. John Schneider talked to the media, and he disclosed his game 1 starter, but kept it pretty secret about who he would start going beyond that, which I thought was very interesting, and it kind of leads me to thinking of, I think he has a plan for if they win, and I think he has a plan for if they lose game 1. I think if they win, I think 100% you're going to see Trey Savage start game 2 at home. I don't think that they want to send Trey Savage into Yankee Stadium to make his first postseason start in an opposing stadium. So I just don't see that happening. Um, the pitching though, for me, like, it comes down to, like, is Shane Bieber going to look rusty off 8 or 9 days rest? Because he hasn't done that since coming off the IL. Most he's ever got was 6 between his first and second start. So yeah, those types of things are kind of interesting to me. But yeah, like, when you look at the pitching matchup for the Toronto Blue Jays and what John Schneider did today, just revealing just the game 1 starter, does it kinda tip the hat to, we have a plan, like, that is more so on a game-to-game basis, and we're not gonna tell you until that game happens because, hey, it's playoff baseball, and that's the way we're gonna roll this year?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, just not only just that, but it also doesn't allow the opposite team to kind of prepare. At least be giving them an extra day in preparation. I assume we'll know the starter at some point on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just takes away the Yankees' opportunity to prepare for Game 2 in a different way. They can obviously take their guess, and I'm sure they'll be prepared for whoever's coming out. But it just adds that kind of allure of which guy's going to come out and which guy's going to be the starter for game 2. I do like the point of just putting Trey Savage in the best possible situation for himself,
Mhm.
because as we all know, he's a very young guy, and you don't want to put him in a situation that, and not even to say that this would even happen, because as far as we've seen, he's been rock
Pretty
solid out
lights
there.
out,
Yeah,
yeah.
like hasn't shown any real issues of any kind of anxiety or nervousness on the mound. He looks
Yeah.
like a veteran when he's out there pitching, even for a guy who was just promoted, this month or last month, I
Mhm.
guess. So it's pretty interesting to watch, and I think you're right. Like, that might be the best situation, because if you happen to get an unbelievable start from you Savage in a game 2 situation, then you might be up 2-0. Worst case,
Yeah.
you're tied 1-1, and then, like you said, it comes down to what Shane Bieber can give you. And the point about the rest is valid, because, like you said, it's been pretty consistent since he's come back. Whether that was minor league starts or major league starts, he's been pitching pretty consistently. And the good thing is he hasn't been injured, so I think you're right in that the rust might be the only thing to really worry about with him. But
Mhm.
I'm excited to see the competitor that he is kind of come out, and I'm sure that will get his, he's going to give it his all, and he's probably going to look really good. So it's more so, can he be that like 1A kind of starting pitcher that we see, who maybe allows a single run, but that might be it. Or are we going to see kind of the 2 or 3 runs that we've seen a couple different times when he's gone
Yeah.
out there for the Blue Jays? So I wonder um, if that's the plan. And I think no matter what they do, as you said, they have the option to kind of play it by ear and do what they think is best for not only the team but for the individual players as well, and put them in the best situation. So I love what they've got, and I love that they were able to get the bye and just gave them this opportunity to take a breath and say what's the best for us. We don't have to make any rash decisions about a
Yeah.
game one situation or even a game two or three. Like, you can go into it knowing that everybody's got everything that they have to give, and you can deploy them as needed. So yeah, it's really good.
I have two more questions for you on the pitching side of things, or starting pitching side of things. First, looking at the like the starting pitchers that the Blue Jays could possibly roll out, we have no idea yet 'cause it's a follow-up question. But when you look at the Blue Jays' potential starting lineup or whoever you think is going to be starting, and you look at the Yankees starting lineup or starting rotation, which one would you prefer going into this series? Like, who do you think has the advantage going in?
Well, I think in terms of talent and consistency, I think this year I would give it to what the Blue Jays have. I think I love, if we're just talking the starting pitching, I love what, Kevin Gosman's had an unbelievable year. I know his last start wasn't
Mhm.
the best, but he's had an unbelievable year. He's earned that kind of game one starter. Um, Shane Bieber, for what we've had him for the short period of time, he's been phenomenal as well. I think the clear second option. And then you look at guys like Trey Savage and Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer. I think they've got depth there if they need it. And I think you're going to see at least one of those guys, probably start a game at some point. So I think it's one of those things where I like the depth compared to what the Yankees have, even though the top level talent is there on the Yankee side too. When you're talking
Yeah.
about a guy like Max Fried, even Rodon looked on pretty good in his start as well, I think, and you're going to see the best of him at some point. But then when you add in a guy like Schlittler, who's kind of come out of nowhere this year, and obviously as a rookie just dominated in a huge spot against the Red Sox. If he's capable of something like that, it gives them, it gets
Mhm.
them a bit closer to what the Jays have. But I don't think that's a consistent enough thing that I've seen where I can say, okay, I know that that's what you're going to get every time. The Jays with their veteran lineup, and if they're at their best, I think they can get to most of those guys, and that's excuse me, that's Freed included. I think they have a good chance to put up a couple runs on him, and then if they're able to do what they can, on the pitching side and out of the bullpen, and if they're able to get to the Yankees bullpen, which I'm sure we can get into as well,
Yeah.
they're set up
Yeah.
well to continuously kind of do a bit of damage at a time, and if they're able to play their way, I don't see why they won't be, at least at the very least, very competitive in this series, if not a chance to win.
So let's go to the bullpen and then we'll go to the bats. But two bullpens that like everyone has been, I would say, harping on this year in terms of being bad. And then at the end of the year, it's really confusing because there's periods where the bullpen is really bad for the Blue Jays, and then there's periods where it was really good. And I wouldn't say the Yankees were as good in terms of their bullpen, but there was points where their bullpen was also really good. Just like the Blue Jays that also had struggles. Going into this series, like and you saw the Yankees like against the Red Sox, like their bullpen kind of held it together. Like they were pretty good in that series. So I'm just curious if you are picking a bullpen right now in terms of the floor of what you think you can get out of them. We know the ceiling is there for both sides, but if you had to go with a floor and say someone's going to make a mistake, who would you rather have? The Blue Jays bullpen or the Yankees bullpen?
I mean, that's a great question, and that may be what this series comes down to, because I think when you look at what the Yankees have, they have a lot of names, but
Yeah.
they haven't maybe been as good as they've been expected to, especially some of the guys um, that they've acquired. We know David Bednar's been pretty good and has, found his way into that closer role, but guys like
Hmm.
Devin Williams have struggled a little bit, and then we saw Luke Weaver have his issues against the Red Sox. So I mean, the when you compare kind of the Jays' best guys and what the Yankees have, I think the Jays are right there. You talk about uh, Jeff Hoffman and Sir Anthony Dominguez. We know Hoffman struggled a little bit, but in September he was pretty nails. And Dominguez has been, consistent since he's gotten here. And I think, You're going to see guys like Louis Varland, and I think Eric Lauer is going to be a huge part of the
Yep.
series one way or another. And then the lefties like Little, and I guess I don't know if Flu Hardy's going to be on the roster, but if you only have the two lefties, you're going to need those two guys to be pretty strong, because the Yankees have a ton of lefties in their lineup, and I think
Hmm.
there's going to be spots where John Schneider's going to have to make a difficult decision at some point. Um, because yeah, that's where the Yankees can hurt them, is if they aren't able to deploy the bullpen correctly, and some of these guys are able to get to them. But I
Do
mean
you
I think that the bullpen is probably like, I mean, is closer to me than like the starting pitcher argument. I think like
do
it's
you see Max Scherzer, for example, pitching out of the bullpen for the Blue Jays? Like that's the biggest question to me is tomorrow morning when you wake up at 10 a.m. and you look at the ALDS roster for the Toronto Blue Jays, is Max Scherzer going to be on it? What do you think?
I mean, I think he will. I don't really know the role that he will be played in, but kind of to what you said about the Jays and kind of like hiding their cards a little bit. Like, I think that may be part of it, is they probably have a plan for nearly everybody who was going to be a part of or on the mix in the mix to be a part of the playoff roster. And it just depends on, yeah, where they're at as a group, I guess, going into tomorrow. Like, if
Hmm.
they think that a certain plan is better than another, then they're going to go with, the guys they need to deploy that. So
You're good. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that Scherzer probably makes it, but I don't think it's because of anything but his name at this point in time. The pitching, if you're taking him just off pitching right now, you're probably not taking Scherzer because he has not been one of your 13 best pitchers in the organization, in my opinion, down the stretch. He gets blown up in the first inning of basically every game that he's been in since the end or since the beginning of August, it feels like. And then, you know, it just it gets into a point where you're making a bullpen game with a starter who's supposed to be a starter, and he only lasts like 2 to 3 innings. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, but the reason I think that he's gonna be on the team is because of the name, and I think the veteran presence. We're gonna see it happen, but anyway, moving on to the bats, I just quickly wanna touch on this is, when you think about the Yankees, you think about power, right? Like, obviously, if the Yankees are going to win, they're going to beat you with power. They actually didn't really do that against the Red Sox. It was kind of funny. They load the bases, then they singled their way into 4 runs in the fourth inning against the Red Sox in Game 3, which was kind of surprising to see. But if you are the Blue Jays, you know that the game for you is about contact, and it's been about that way for the whole season. But in a series where it's best 3 out of 5, right? Like, in a series that, in my opinion, small ball is going to be a factor, but I don't think it's going to be the end all be all. I think you're gonna have to have a moment like a Joey Batista, like, just an absolute m iconic moment to happen. Um Like, when you think about that, like, do you think that the Blue Jays will have something in that regard, or can they win with small ball?
well, I think they can. I think they're the team that's more likely to do that. I think, the Yankees for the talent that they have. I mean, I think a guy like Aaron Judge kind of drives that team, and a lot of that is, guys, if they can get on base, he's there to drive them home, and he's there to
Mhm.
hit for power. And they have a guy like Stanton who doesn't hit much for contact, hits for power. And then you have other guys like, Chisholm and Volpe. Like, these guys are good hitters, but they're not like specialists. They don't have a ton of guys that purely get on base and try to move around or are too dangerous. Like, I think the Jays have a bunch of guys that can hit for average and hit for a little bit of power. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you saw a guy like Addison Barger or Ernie Clement, like, not only have a big moment where they get a single or a double, but maybe hit a big home run out of nowhere where you're not
Yeah.
expecting it, because that's kind of how this team's operated all year. Guys come
Mhm.
up to the plate and they're able to take what they can get, and a lot of times, even when you're not expecting it, they're able to come through with some clutch moments. So obviously things get a little bit tighter, and like I said before, definitely going to expect less runs than the Jays have been used to this season. And I think they're going to need to be able to play at their best, even if they're not scoring 5 runs a game, which we know they've been incredible at.
I think the biggest thing for me is like for the Blue Jays to win, I think the pitching obviously has to be good. But I think the biggest thing for me is like the Blue Jays, they have to get to New York pitching early. Like I think they got to wear them down with like their long at bats, but I think they got to get to them early and get a couple runs across the board in the first couple innings, force Boone's hand, make them think like that kind of thing, and get the bullpen into the game. I think that's where the Blue Jays would like truly, truly benefit from this. But my last question on the series before we or you give me your pick and whatever. Um, I just want to know, what do you think the blueprint is for the Blue Jays to win this ALDS and advance to the ALCS?
No, I agree with almost exactly what you're saying. Is that the key to this series will be whether or not the Jays can. I mean, not as specific as you put it, which because I think you're right. Like they need to be able to score early, but it's more so will they be able to score consistently across a series?
Hmm.
They can't have a game or two where they get, just as a team kind of collapse and aren't able to put up any runs or maybe can only get one across or end up stranding a bunch of base runners, which can happen sometimes. But that's where they got to be able to say no. We're not going to. Well, you can't really say it, but they need to stay away from that type of game. They need to be able
Yeah.
to cash in when they have opportunities, and they need to take advantage if the Yankees make any mistakes defensively, because we know that that could happen. And like I said, the Jays just have to be ready to jump on it and take whatever they can get because yeah, well, you're going to get to moments where the Yankees will bring out a big name, pitcher. You're going to see a Devin Williams, you're going to see a David Bednar, and they're still going to need to be able to create offense on those type of players as well. So, um,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the Blue Jays can do if they're able to, like I said, keep the consistency up that they've shown all year. But I think you're 100% right. It's not really going to come down to the pitching unless there's a collapse on either team. If the Blue Jays starting pitchers aren't the same guys we're used to seeing, obviously that's not going to give them any chance to win this series. And if the Yankees guys dominate, you tip your cap and you try to do what you can. But for the most part, I think the opportunities are going to be there, and the Jays just have to take advantage and do what they've done all year, which is consistently score and put themselves in a position to win a game.
Yep. No, I agree. I think when you think about the series itself, you got to think that if the Blue Jays, like I said, if the Blue Jays are going to win this, it is going to, I think you're going to have one moment. I think you got to have one moment where it's just like a big time shot like I don't think a single but like a home run by Addison Barger, like you were saying, like just someone step. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's a Vlad or not. It doesn't matter because he's making $500 million to me. He doesn't need to be the guy to do that. In my opinion, someone is going to have to step up though in some crucial moment in this series, though.
Do you think that the Jays can win the series if Vlad doesn't show up? Like if there's no moments
If
from
Vlad
him?
doesn't
Yeah.
show up, I will be shocked. I'll put it to you
Yeah.
that way,
Yeah.
because it's the Yankees. Like he is exceptional against the Yankees. Like that is the team that he just eats against. And for some reason, he loves Yankee Stadium. I think
Yeah, his
is he
numbers are
just
unreal. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's insane what his numbers are there. And I think it's just something that he feeds off of. Like he's like, these guys hate me. I hate them, let's go to war. And I think he feeds off that. But
I
yeah, so I think that you don't have to really worry about Vlad not getting going in this series.
Do you think I got one more for you. Do you think the Jays will handle how do you think they'll handle Aaron Judge? Do you think you'll see any
I
intentional
think they'll
walks
do what they
the way
did
that we've done in the
in the
season? Yeah.
series that they did, that they swept them in July, which to me, you mentioned about it earlier about the series in July of Canada Day where they, I think they tied for the, no, they took the series lead in that series, or the division lead. Sorry, the division lead in that series, and they never looked back from that point forward. I think, if I recall correctly, they let Judge hit in, like, the first inning, and then after that, it was, "Let's see who's on base and the situation, and then let's walk him if not." And that was July. Like, that was July baseball, but it was such a big series at the time, that it felt like playoff baseball, and I would assume that it's gonna be the same situation where Judge is not going to be hitting or gonna have as many at bats as what, you might think coming into this series because I think they're going to eliminate 2 to 3 of them per game. He might only get if it's 5 times he sees the, 4 or 5 times he sees, the pitcher, I think he might only get one plate appearance, like, honestly, because he's that good of a hitter. He's arguably, if not the best hitter in the world. You do not
If
wanna
he's not
pitch.
the first, he's the second. I think we can
Yeah.
agree on that. Yeah.
Like, it's either him or Shohei, like,
Yeah.
there's no debating. It's like Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon in hockey, those are the 2 best players. These are the 2 best hitters. There are no debate. You can debate them and what they are, but they are far and above the best hitters in the game. And so I just think that the Blue Jays don't want any part of that, and I think that they're gonna be strategic, and I think they're gonna play it the same way that they did in July. Will it work out? We'll see, 'cause when you walk Judge, you're gonna pitch to Stanton, and Stanton has been killing people as of recently. So I think, like I said, like, it's gonna be important to where the Blue Jays are gonna get in trouble, I think, is if they get it's so hard to say because they have the most comeback wins, in the AL. I think even the, whole league with 45, but if you get down to the Yankees, I feel like that really puts you in a tough spot, and I mean, don't like, if it's a close game and you're down by 1 run in the 7th inning, sure, but if you get down by 2 runs in the 1st inning, I think that's where the Blue Jays could get really into trouble, and everything could unravel from there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, like you said, mostly because of, like, the Yankees' ability to kinda strike quickly, they've got the
Yeah,
power there, they can turn a quick, a 1 run or a 2-run lead, they can turn that into 3 or 4, which like we saw in game 3 against the Red Sox, so it's one of those things where the Jays gotta keep a clamp on, the Yankees' offense as best they can, and to your point about Judge, I think they will definitely try to eliminate as many plate appearances as they can for him, um whether or not it helps or hurts them in the end,
yeah.
I think it's
I
gonna
don't
be left to see, but you'd rather have I think you'd rather get beat by Giancarlo Stanton than by Aaron Judge
Yeah, but
by saying but
I
either
don't
way,
I
it's
don't
not
think you eliminate every plate appearance, I think you have to pitch
no,
to him in the
some, just
first
a few
inning.
maybe.
I think
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do.
And
Um,
you're probably gonna be in a position where you have to pitch to them late because you never know
yeah,
with guys on base and that situation, like, obviously, they're gonna look at every plate appearance
yep.
differently, and it's all gonna depend on what's happening in game, so, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be one of the more exciting things to watch,
I have a
and
question.
alright, let's hear it.
I have a really, really interesting question. Say it's tie game, top of the ninth, Judge is up to bat, and the bases are loaded. What are you doing?
Well, what's the score?
2 outs. I said
Oh, tie, yeah, yeah.
tied game,
Wow.
2 outs.
Yeah.
You're walking them.
No, you can't give up a run like that.
I'm walking them.
I'm not I
I'm
don't think
walking
so.
them.
I don't think so.
Are you
I
really gonna
think
give him the
in
chance at
that
a
kinda
grand
situ
slam?
yeah, but the game's pretty much over even if if you let them score 1 run, you're
Why?
losing it. Well, you said it's tie game, top of the ninth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you're down if his
You're
bases
down
are
by
loaded.
1.
Yeah, then you need a run in the ninth. I'd rather take my chances and try to
Really?
and get I think in that kinda
Eh,
situation, that's where you
but
gotta hold
once
and you gotta
like,
believe in what your guys can do, and you're
for
not gonna
me,
throw
like,
him anything juicy, hopefully, but you're gonna try to get him out.
if
That's
you
what you
do
gotta do.
pitch him in that situation, I'm assuming everything's just away from the plate. Like,
Yeah, that's
everything
what I mean.
has to be away.
I'm not saying you
Um
challenge him or anything like that, but you have to pitch to him, I think. You can't just give them a run in the top of the ninth, bro,
Yeah,
come on.
I think you would have to. I couldn't risk giving up Judge, like, him just swinging at something and connecting for a grand slam in that case. I think I just have to walk
That's
and give him the run.
I get what you're saying, but you got to play to win. Whether you lose by one or by
That's
four.
playing. I think that's playing to win. It's respecting the
Yeah,
best hitter in the world, and that's making the decision to give up one run and say, "Okay, let's go get him with our bats." Like, here's the thing, though: for the Yankees to win, it takes one swing of the bat. Like, it literally takes one swing of the bat. If they have like three guys, like a fourth inning, like they did last night, one swing of the bat, and the game could be over. For the Blue Jays, it takes multiple swings. It realistically it takes 2 to 3 for them to get a run in. If, like, obviously we're talking about percentages and how they score runs. Obviously they can hit a home run, but it's more likely that they're gonna play small ball contact and it's gonna take a couple hits. That's the thing that scares me the most is uh is how dangerous the New York Yankees bats will be. And will the Toronto Blue Jays bats still be in rhythm after having a week off?
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah. No, that's gonna be the biggest thing for sure.
So with that, I think we covered everything unless I'm missing something that we did not talk about.
I mean, I think we both know the answer to this, but do you think there's any chance we see Bo Bichette either on this series roster or in a game at some point in the DS?
I don't see him on this roster. If it gets to the ALCS, I see him on that roster. Um,
1,000% agree. That's why I said we probably it's not much to it, but I think you're right. Like he's not ready. I'm sure you saw like the little video of him throwing,
yeah,
walking a little
yeah.
bit. Doesn't look too good. I'm not
He
sure
doesn't
he'll
he
be
doesn't
ready
look
in a week.
great.
So
Unless he's
yeah,
just faking it like Seth Rollins did at SummerSlam and we get a all-time moment. That'd be amazing. He comes out running. But anyway,
yeah.
I actually forgot one thing we should probably ask each
Oh yeah,
other.
who you got?
Well, that, but I have a question about John Schneider.
Oh,
Does
go
this
for it.
series matter, like, in terms of, like, if they lose and they just lose in a normal fashion, are you, like, saying John Schneider might not be the guy? Because we all know what happened the last time he was in the postseason. We all know what happened. We remember that moment exactly, um, and that was the pull on Jose Barrios way too early in the game for a lot of fans. A lot of people did not agree with his decision, but
But that was like at the time, was that not like an organizational decision? Like, I don't know that he
yes,
got the blame for that. Like, I think you're right. Like, if
I
you
think
look
he got
back,
the blame for that
okay,
as well. Like,
maybe.
it was
Yes,
everyone. I
for
think
he executed it, so I can understand
yes.
what you mean. But like, I think he wasn't like internally. I don't think he was getting flack
No,
for
no, no,
that. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
but from fans, he was definitely getting
sure,
flack
sure.
for that decision. Do you think say it's a normal series and, like, the Blue Jays just play a hard-fought series, but they lose. Do you think that ruins anything of John Schneider from this year, or do you think he still had a great year and he's the skipper of the future of this team?
No, I think in that scenario he would still be retained. I think his contract is up if I'm not mistaken. I think whether or not he's going to be the manager, I think is pretty much set in stone. But I think there's a world where there's questions if there's moments where things are mismanaged and things appear to be on his shoulders, then I mean, I'm sure there will be questions and times like that will be brought up again. And I think it's one of those things where, yeah, it's going to be on him to just try to make the common sense decisions and try to not they're not going to get too crazy, hopefully, with what they're going to do. Maybe there's an opener starter situation like we talked about. I think a guy like Eric Lauer could come in and pitch a couple of innings, whether that's as a starter or piggybacking off a guy like Chris Bassett, or if we do see a Max Scherzer at some point, that might be for a couple innings.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think like you said, I think it's going to come down to the way that the Jays can make their decisions, and they just got to make the best ones they can, and hopefully the players are executing as well, because like you said, in the end, the Jays lose a series like this, it's probably not because of one decision made by John
Yeah.
Schneider, but at the same time, I think a series of decisions that are questionable could lead to
Some
questions in
questions,
general,
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
about what the future should look like. But I think for me, he's
That's
pretty
fair.
well set in stone. I think in terms of returning to the team and being the manager of the future for the time being. So
So we'll end it off with our picks for the DS. And I'm not just gonna do the Blue Jays and Yankees for this. I'm gonna get you to do all
I love it. Love it.
four. Um, I'm gonna go with the Blue Jays. I'm gonna go with them in five at home. I think it's gonna be a nail biter. I think it's gonna be a close series. I do think the Yankees what scares me about them in terms of their power is also what is along with their bullpen is what their weakness is because they're going to swing and miss a lot, and if they don't get the home run ball, it's not going to be pretty for them, I don't think. And it bodes well for the Blue Jays. So I have the Blue Jays in five. I have the Seattle Mariners. I have them in a sweep, man. I think that they're gonna sweep the Detroit Tigers. I have the Dodgers beating the Phillies, which the Phillies, if this happens, the Phillies are going to lose their mind. And then honestly, I have the Brewers over the Cubs in I think that's going to be a 5-game series as well. I think the Cubs they proved to me that they definitely deserve. I had question marks about them coming into the playoffs because honestly about their pitching and whether or not they'd be able to withstand. But against the Padres, they seem pretty well, and I really like them. So I'm actually going to pick them to go to make it a series at least with the Brewers. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to start with the Jays. I'm on the same kind of page as you. I do think they win this series in five. If they had a healthy Bo Bichette, I think they win this series in four. But I think for me, I think
Plus
they're
one more.
I mean, pretty much. Like, I think he's worth it at this point, if not more. But I just, yeah, his one for me, that's the one thing, and we talked about is that weakness, not having his bat in the lineup. Will the team be as consistent as they've been all year? That's yet to
Hmm.
be seen. We hope so. So yeah, I'm going to take the Jays in five. I think they've got the pitching, they've got the ability to show depth and sustain throughout a long series, and I
Hmm.
think we'll see them hopefully pull through and move on to the ALCS. In terms of the other division series there, I'll take I'm gonna surprise you, I think, with this one. And we've talked about this before. And this was maybe before
I think,
before they
yeah, I
completely
know where you're
collapsed.
going.
But I do think there's something about the Tigers, and I felt that way this year in general. Like before they kind of had their huge
Yeah,
collapse, and
yeah,
I can't take anything away from that. I don't think it's going to be an easy series. I think that series that could easily go 5 games as well, and for that reason, I'm going to take the Tigers in five.
mm.
I just love Scooble. I like their lineup.
Scooble, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Scooble's just an
I mean,
alpha,
yeah,
but
like the Mariners are going to put out some really really strong pitchers, but I think when Scooble gets back on the mound, that's a game that the Tigers are probably winning. So,
they should win,
yeah.
yes.
So I mean, I think the rest of their depth is not as strong. I liked what Jack Flaherty showed in that Game 3 win against Cleveland. But you look at guys like Casey Mize and some of their other starting pitchers.
Yeah,
The Mariners can definitely get to them, but they're going to need to
yeah.
win the games that they can, and for that reason, I think I'm gonna kind of stick to what I've been saying through the year. I think they were at least one of the better teams or the best teams, maybe the first or second team at one point. A top team in the AL, and I think that's going to hold true. Even though the Mariners have been unreal, and I think they will be
Mhm.
very deservedly if they do win and get through. On the NL side, I'm gonna take the Cubs over the Brewers. I think I like what the
I don't hate it. I
I
don't
like
hate it.
what the Cubs have. I like their talent. Again, I think the Brewers maybe their pitching depth and their top talent is maybe a little bit stronger than what the Cubs have, but there's something about the Cubs. I honestly had the Padres in the wild card. I thought they would be the team to come out of there,
Yeah,
but
so did
there was
I.
something about watching those games. The Cubs, there's something to that team, and I like what they're doing. So I think I'm going to give them a chance. I'm going to take them in five too. Honestly, these series we might see a repeat of the wild card where all if not
They're
all
all
three
good.
or four of these series go the distance. So I want to see that, and then the final
Dodgers or
series is
Phillies?
maybe the best one. You know, you're talking about
I think it's the
maybe
best
the two best
one.
teams in the MLB. I know that the Brewers had the best record, and they certainly are deservedly there. I'm gonna take the Dodgers as well. I think that they've kind of been slept on a little bit this year. Obviously, they've had some bad stretches, and we know their bullpen hasn't been as great as in the past. But I think
Yeah,
they always have the talent, and we know that they've got, if not the best, maybe the second best to the Phillies in terms of their lineup is so strong and so deep. But that series is going to be a war. I can't wait to
But
watch what those
also
two teams.
the Dodgers pitching, like their
Yeah.
starting pitching is just it's an absolute
Oh, if you
monster.
got a three-headed monster of Otani, and then you got Glasnow, Yamamoto, these guys are
And you
unbelievable.
still got Blake Snell.
Snell's there too. These, yeah,
Like
like
it's
they don't
baby.
have to worry about anything. They can just next in line, who's there. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
you're talking about the best
it's
rotation I think at this point in baseball. So
um I don't know. I think Seattle still claims that spot to me. I think 1 through 5 they are the most consistent, but if you're talking about stars, I do think the Los Angeles
yeah,
Dodgers do win there.
yeah,
But like Otani doing unimaginable things is going to be fun to watch because
yeah, and that's
for
why
the
it's so
first
hard to bet against them, right? Is because he's doing things that have never been done before, and he's doing it on a team that
yep,
in the last 2 years has done literally done everything they can to get to these points, and they showed up last year, and now it's about whether they can show up again. We know that they did in the wild card series, but I don't think the Reds were people weren't
but
taking them too seriously. I don't think,
yeah,
but
even if Shohei was just pitching or hitting, like he'd still be
yeah,
the best player probably in the world. But the fact he's doing both is just it's unicorn like and it's just insane. And to think that he's now going to start game 1 of the DS and then hit in that same game, it's just remarkable, man. It is crazy to think about.
no, 100%. That's why, like I said, I'm going to take them in. I'm going to take honestly. I'm gonna take them in 4 games. I think that they're gonna find their groove here, and they're gonna kind of start being the Dodgers that we saw last year. And I
Yeah.
think that as much as the Phillies, are a great team and they're a great story, I think the Dodgers are just gonna kind of go through, and they might be well on their
Yeah.
way to their second straight World
It
Series. So
might be
yeah,
I was about to say, it might be if they beat the Phillies, they might be the
yeah.
team to beat going forward then in terms of who might be the favorite. Because yeah, once they get rolling, like, you're just not stopping that thing, like, it is just and Tommy Edman, like, another big home run in the series
Yeah.
against the Cincinnati Re this guy just lives for
Well,
playoff
and if
baseball.
Oscar Hernandez is hitting the ball
Oh
well,
my
like
gosh,
you're
yes,
talking
he
about a
just
lineup from 1 through 9 that can do a lot of damage.
yeah,
They've got
yeah,
so much talent. They've scouted and acquired very well over
yep,
the past few years. So I
yep.
think they're the team to watch for sure.
Alrighty. Well, that just about does it here for this episode on the Second Look Sports podcast. I hope you enjoyed episode 31, previewing the Jays and Yankees ALDS. It is an electric time inside the city of Toronto, and we cannot wait for the rest of this, or for the whole series to begin starting today when you listen to this on Saturday, October 4th. I can't believe it's already October. But yeah, so excited. We'll catch you later. We'll talk to you next week. NHL's back, but for now, it is all baseball. See ya.